Black Americans use as a pawn to get votes by the Democratic Party. We talk about immigration. I'm looking at it from a Black American perspective.
Czar and former ICE Director Tom Homan is putting together an aggressive new anti-immigration agenda. It includes bringing back family detention centers that were phased out under the Biden administration and forcing undocumented parents to choose between leaving their U.S.-born children, U.S. citizens, behind or being deported altogether. But don't take our word for it. Here's what Homan had to say to NBC News this Thursday.
Look, family detention, if we bring it back, it's on the table. We haven't finished the plan yet. If you choose to have a child here in the United States while you know you're here illegally and you know you're on a court order to deport, that's on you.
Joining us now, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas.
Good to see you, Congresswoman. Great to have you back on the program. So let's just get to the bottom line. Homan noted.
Hold on a second, guys. I want to make sure we're clear about this. If you come into the United States, you have a child in America, they say that child is an American citizen because you had that child in America. But what Homan's saying is what? You can either take your child with you, or you can leave that child in the United States with a relative. He said parents who lose the immigration cases are going to have to make a decision what you want to do. You get to make a decision. You can either take your child with you or leave the child here in the U.S. with a relative. I'm trying to understand what's wrong with that. Before we move forward, I want to understand, if you are here illegally, they say, okay, you should not be here. We know you had a child while you've been here illegally. Your child can stay with a legal citizen that's a citizen of the United States. They can stay, or you can take them with you, but you gotta go. I'm trying to understand, what's the problem? Now, if you say you don't get the choice, you gotta leave and your child gotta leave, there'll be people complaining. But in this situation, say you gotta leave and you can either take your child with you or the child can stay with a parent or with a relative. I'm gonna keep going, but I just want to say, I want people to explain to me. Maybe somebody could leave a comment. Explain to me what's wrong with that. Why is that? I know when people get locked up, when American citizens get locked up, they don't take their children to jail with them. Those children either go live with a relative or they go into a system. Why is it expected that people that are not here legally, that enter the country, they're not citizens, why should they get treated better than citizens? I want to understand that. Well, why do you think that's okay? Now, coming from a group of people that's we're 3 times as much more incarcerated, Black Americans. It was funny. We went from being the least incarcerated when we were slaves to the moment we got our freedom becoming 3 to 4 times more incarcerated for some crazy reason. But speaking from that historical perspective that continues to this day, why would you think it's better we should treat immigrants who are undocumented immigrants, illegal immigrants, illegally in the country, not illegal people, illegally in the country? Why should they get better treatment than me or my cousin or a guy across the street who goes to jail for something? Are we going to change the laws that a Black mother, for instance, a Black single mom cannot be incarcerated into an institution if she has kids? Can we do that? Can we do that? Like, of these liberals that are up in arms, that are pissed off, that are losing their shit, the people that have written me all types of DMs, how do you feel about us coming up with a plan that would make it so Black women and Black men, because Black men love their babies too, how about we come up with a way that when we get incarcerated, that we can home arrest so we can stay with our kids? That makes sense? And I'm sure if we want to do that, I'm sure that there are Latinos or Asian or white folks who want to do that too. Why can't the rest of us get that type of treatment. Oh, it's unreasonable, huh? See why I had to leave them people alone? They're not ready. They have a bias. They pretend they can't have biases. They have biases.
If you choose to have a child here in the United States while you know you're here illegally and you know you're on a court order to deport, that's on you.
Joining us now, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas.
Good to see you, Congresswoman. Great to have you back on the program. So let's just get to the bottom line. Homan noted that he wants to launch a separate campaign to locate more than 300,000 teens and children that he and other Trump allies have frequently described as missing. The goal being to bring back these detention centers to deport people. What's your take on what Americans need to really get themselves set for come January 20th? Because I think a lot of that begins to get rolled out at that time.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how to prepare for this fiasco, right? Like, we know that we just heard him really change what he had been saying before, right? So again, I kept saying they don't really have a plan. Like, they're just out here and, you know, they were having these rallies and they basically were like, kick them all out. But before he said, no, everybody gets deported, even the U.S. citizen, right? And now he's saying, well, I'll give them the option.
Hold on a second. You say even a U.S. citizen. Oh, you're saying somebody who comes here that's not supposed to be here, who may have just came here to have a child here, that now is the responsibility of the United States. I mean, Jasmine's a very smart lady. She's a lawyer. You may not hear it here, as she uses the AAVE language a lot. She went to Russell University, a very prestigious university. She's a very, very intelligent woman. I'm thinking she gets what I'm saying, right? So before, he was like, nah, if you come here with the intentions of having a child, you know that you're not a citizen, you have a child here, we don't get to take care of that child for you in the United States. You don't automatically get citizenship for that child because you shouldn't have been here. Because you didn't go through the proper mechanisms or the proper procedures to become a citizen. Yeah, I'm trying to understand. Why is that not goofy to me? Oh, because Jasmine doesn't think that people are coming to this country, having children here to make them citizens. She don't think that's a problem. Okay.
Yeah, because you can't kick somebody out who's a U.S. citizen. Like, you can't do that, right? So, like, my point that I have been making is that they don't really know what they're doing. They really have just been trying to serve up this red meat, not to mention they are not talking about cost, right? We know that Doge is all about cutting costs. They have not started to address how expensive something like this is going to be, not just from actually the manpower side of this, but as an attorney, all I can think about is all the litigation that we are about to enter. Now, mind you, they want to defund the DOJ and every part of it. So, I mean, they have no real plans. And what I want people to do, because clearly they forgot.
It sounded like they had a plan, Ms. Crockett. The plan is what he said. He said, if you have a child here and that child is now an American citizen, even though you are not supposed to be here, if you make a child here, you got to leave. Your child can stay with a relative, or you can take your child with you. That's not a plan. And we talk about costs. What's the cost of having people who are not citizens who need financial aid from the government? Well, you would think a person that's from Texas would have a plan for this. But since you're a Democrat, your plan is only to say we should just let everybody in. There's no plan for where we are right now. I got a feeling there's a number of Black Americans that are in Texas, as well as I already know the numbers on Latino Americans who are against just letting everybody come into America. They're against that. I saw a poll where Latino Americans were Latino, Black Americans, everybody except progressives support, closing the border, having more checks and balances in that border. But let her keep going, y'all.
What it was like to live under Trump for the 4 years that we had him is I want you to mark that calendar on your phone. I want you to mark everything that they say. Just like they said that they were going to build that wall and we never saw the wall get built. I want you to mark your calendar and talk about how important it was for these people to be.
Ho. Why are they bringing her on here to just let her talk? Non-stop and go on a spiel and say a bunch of stuff that's not true. Last time I checked, Trump built up like 540 miles of wall. 54 miles, there was no wall at all he built up. And like 500 miles was dilapidated, not high enough wall. They had to be retrofitted. But all in all, it was 500. The total number of border wall miles built under Trump's administration varies on how it's counted. One count based on the U.S. Customs and Border Protection data puts the total at 458 miles, but the majority of those additions replace existing similar dilapidated barriers. It did not add to the total miles of barriers along the southern border. 458 miles. That's a wall. Nobody corrected her though. They just let her talk. Let her talk and say nothing. And when she is saying something, it's bogus. Very suspect.
Sent out of this country to keep the price of your groceries down or to keep the price of your housing down. And
what's this when the Democrats cared about the price of grocery and housing? Oh, that's since they lost the election. Because you weren't talking about that when Kamala was running. Now, when Kamala was running, when Biden was running, when Kamala was running, you were telling everybody everything was fine. Why would we need to keep anything down? Biden and Kamala did such a great job. Everything's fine, right? Isn't that what Democrats been telling us all this time? Is that this inflation thing is all in your mind? Things are better than they've ever been. You're just tripping. Look at the infrastructure. Look at the battery charging locations. Look at all of the hot spots, all the Wi-Fi, all the satellites they put up so you can have internet in rural America. Look at all that. We did such great work. You just don't know. You don't understand how the legislative process works. You need a civics class. That's what you kept telling us. Now, suddenly, you're saying Trump's not focused on putting food on the table. He's not focused on everyday Americans' bills. It's almost as if Jasmine Crockett doesn't remember that Biden's still in office and Biden's still president, and he didn't do so good. But she was a surrogate of Kamala Harris. So I guess that's part of the reason why she can't keep it real. She actually went on the campaign trail, making up stories for Kamala Harris.
Also want you to tell me what you saw in your communities. I want people to remind themselves.
Hey guys, I want you to tell me what you saw in your communities. Why does she talk like that? I mean, we'll talk, man. Why is she talking that way? We know why I talk this way. I'm a proud graduate of the Prince George's County, public school system. I didn't go to Rutgers. So, and I'm not a lawyer. But why does she talk this way? And I know it's going to be people that like Jasmine, Representative Crockett. They admire her. They adore her. All these things. They find her inspirational. But I just want you to really think about it. Why does she talk like somebody who basically got a GED when she is actually a lawyer, a very successful lawyer, and a congressperson? It would be to dumb it down to try to fool you into thinking she represents you, right? It wouldn't be a ploy, right, to pretend she's just a working class sister. It would be a game, a scheme, a strategy. Right? Of course not, right? Of course not. Yeah, guys. Hey, look. When it comes to immigration, one of the things you cannot talk about to the liberals or even to the progressives is immigration and how it impacts Black Americans. It's like a third rail. And if you do talk about it, you'll never be seen on those platforms again. And if they know that you do support that, they will never have you on those platforms. You understand what I'm saying? It's a prerequisite that you go along with the globalist agenda of open up the border, let everybody in. Jasmine Crockett is a part of that, even though she's from Texas, a border state. People locally, like people reached out to me. I know people reached out to Jasmine Crockett. Black Americans reached out to me and got my head right on this whole issue. I live in Maryland. That's far from a border state. But even we've had our problems with the influx of mass immigration. Okay? You can't tell me for a second. I don't believe for a second that Jasmine Crockett hasn't gotten emails, hasn't had people call her office, people complaining, Black Americans, white Americans, all Latino Americans, Asian Americans, all types of Americans complaining about the border, about what they feel is an issue, right? But what does she do? She comes out here, she does a segment, and she's not talking about what the Democrats have done wrong over the last 4 years, where 10 to 20 million people have illegally crossed. She don't say a word about that. Remember, Trump ain't in office. But why this 4 years was she complaining? Like, how could you not be complaining about the border when you're on a border state? So look, we ain't gonna pretend. It's gonna be hard for you to pretend with me if you are a person that wants to be reasonable. Don't send me your BS mail. Complaining, Tim, that's a sister. Nah, being a sister requires more than you having melanin. Being a sister, being a brother is about more than skin tone. It's about having a shared focus, a shared concern about the things that happen to our lives. It's about us having some type of connection on it. It's about you showing that you care about my life and my family the same way you care about yours. That's how you judge a friendship. And family's even a higher standard. Okay? But now, I'm not supposed to give her a pass. She's supposed to be focused on the issues that matter to us. What I'm telling you is, it is impossible that she is unaware of what's going on in her hometown, in her home state. Any Democrat that's from a border state that has not, over the last 4 years, complained about Joe Biden's policies, and that border is beyond, they're not even suspect. To be suspect, like the cops that beat up Tyree Nichols and killed him, those officers are not suspect. They're caught red-handed. They did that shit. They did that. I saw them do it. They're not suspect. They did it. Anybody, any Democrat that's from a border state that did not have smoke for Joe Biden, that did not call out Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's border policies over the last 4 years, and now they got something to say, we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to get their asses out. We need to kick them out with the quickness. People say Black people died for their vote. They didn't die for your vote to be wasted on people that don't give a shit about you. Democrats love saying you died. People died to give you the right to vote. They died so you had the right to vote. Why? For people like this to come in and do the opposite, to focus only on their own their pocketbook and their own political careers? This is not about Democrats and Republicans. This is about the people and what's true and what's not true. Whatever happened to that? See, any type of focus on that is just unrealistic. because these people are in it for the game. They're in it for what they get out of it. They're not going to risk nothing for the people to even put them in office. They'll talk a good game until they get in office. And then all bets is off.